Hello,
Hi Claire, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, and we're live.
Oh gosh, are we on YouTube or
Um, YouTube, is that all right?
yeah, whatever? It doesn't because I was surprised the other day when you said we've got three three options. We've got YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and I think there was another one, wasn't there?
Yes, Twitch, but I don't go there.
Mm.
I can it goes live on Telegram if I want, but I don't know how to record it. So I think that's it. And Twitter, yes. I'm not sure how well Twitter works. I mean, I'm not doing Twitter Spaces, which
Mm.
is what seems to be very popular at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think Twitter's more instant, 15-second hit, sharp reply, and um, that it's not like YouTube, is it really?
Well, I mean, I suppose I like YouTube for the interactiveness. So,
Mm.
you get the chat and which you don't quite get with the other on Twitter. I mean, you're live and somebody might say something, but you're less likely to get interaction on Twitter than on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, excuse me. Sorry, I'm still not in the best of health. So, how's your day been? Is it very burning hot? Obviously in London.
Well, it's lovely. It's been lovely. I mean, I went to the Royal Hospital in
Mm.
Chelsea to see an art exhibition, and that was surprisingly pleasant. Um, it was um, you talk to the artists. I mean, I was at a fair and, people selling their art and they're actually talking to you, which I think is much nicer than, just going to a museum or an
Yeah,
exhibition.
and was that in a hospital? You say?
It's actually Royal Hospital, which is where the Chelsea pensioners live. So
Oh,
it's,
is that the one where we went to before? It's off the King's Road.
that's right. It's near there. I mean, I popped into the Saatchi Gallery, and I thought of you. I saw the bench there, and that was kind of when you rang your dad and all that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was good. That was yeah. No, that was quite a few year ago. To be honest, I think 5 years maybe or something.
Yes, yes, and uh, I mean, they were doing an exhibition called Civilization. So I had a quick look at the catalogue, which is basically, all the photographs of what life is now, and I thought that could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But the exhibition was 16 quid, and I thought no, I won't, because I
Mm.
was going to go see the other exhibition, which was free. Um, but sort of put full of very posh people, champagne, and for the good customers and stuff like that.
Got
Um,
it.
so so that was fun. It's nice to talk to people. I mean, they do it really nicely. I suppose is what I'm trying to say. It's
Got
all
it.
very artistic. Even the cafe, everything just looks so good. With flowers and
Mhm.
I actually put it up on Facebook in case you're interested. But
All
or
right.
any
No, I didn't see. I've been really busy. It's so hot. So have you heard about what's happening in Russia?
Well, I mean, on and off, some coup, it's finished, whatever. I mean, so much of it is noise. You're not really sure whether you're
Yeah.
hearing the real thing or if you're just getting excited about nothing. And I suppose with these things, I tend to just settle back and let's see what happens. But I mean, there's so much propaganda anyway that
Yeah.
you're never really sure what's right. So I'm not getting excited about that really.
Well, what? Not that you need backing up, but apparently it's all over. and
Yeah, that's right.
now,
I mean, somebody was making a joke like, I've had sex longer than the Russians have had coups or something like
yeah.
that.
The 2 or 3 hours ago, apparently they've agreed a deal. The crazy Russian guy. I think 80% of his 50,000 are ex-prisoners. So he's agreed a deal with Putin. So they now are no longer enemies. So we'll see. But I do think it's going to something will happen at some point, though. I don't think it can go on forever, such as the cost of it. But it wouldn't surprise me if if the Americans have got behind the scenes as well, and whether it be just billions of dollars in cash or blackmail in order to turn those around Putin, turn them against Putin and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean they've been doing that for ages. I mean they tried to murder Alexander Dugin and got his daughter instead, and he's only a political scientist, for God's sakes. It's not like he's, he calls himself a journalist and a academic. But the way, I think it's because so many people in the West like him, because he was attacking liberalism and saying it's not for us Russians. It's not part of our history. And actually a lot of people in the West are sick and tired of liberalism too. It's not even a recent thing when you think of, last century, with the fascists and the Nazis, and after the Weimar Republic, 100 years ago, people were already fed up with liberalism.
Yeah, I mean, it is as far down the line. So yeah, what I was messaging you 2 or 3 hours ago, and I don't think it's a question of faith or doubting God or anything like that, but it's more like questioning the whole: is it me who's deluded, or is it time to come out of it and become normal? That's what I'm questioning. Does that make sense to you?
Well, what's normal these days? I mean, I think that is what is driving us mad. We don't know what's normal anymore, because what we thought was normal is somehow, forbidden. I mean, don't you find that this is what is driving everyone mad? It's like, oh, but I thought it was okay. Oh no, keep up. It's like what you thought was okay yesterday. Well, you can't say it today.
Yeah, I mean that's the yeah, and I've been following this Christian book, and it's called around the year with a particular author, and I've been following it on and off for, well, I've had it. I do it every day.
Is it Emmett Fox you're talking about?
And I've done it for years. And I've been following, thinking, and every day it has a reading, and you apply it that day, and it's supposedly relevant the date. Well, for the last sort of 15, 18 days, I've been on the wrong month. I've been.
Well, you might as well read your horoscope,
That's what I mean. On July, and I just thought, what is that? I think that was the final point, and I just thought, what am I doing with it? What would life be like if I don't? And I wonder if religion is a mental illness. I mean, it's similar to transgender in a sense, or it's a way of life. It's a set of rules. It's a moral code almost. It's and you follow it. And I just wonder, with all of these things, if they're similar in some degree, just to avoid that feeling of actually being incredibly vulnerable and like on your own. Obviously humans have got tremendous strengths and everything, but as you know, with me, I've had years of ups and downs and stuff, and maybe the cushion of religion or the cushion of changing my identity or whatever, it's all just sort of escapism until you get real, or you don't get real.
I suppose really people need to know what's making them unhappy, and I find a lot of people, they can't admit it. There are all these layers of denial, and they don't even know why they're doing certain things, and so it's kind of hard when a lot of people suppress a lot of things, and they're upset, and they, something triggers them, and they don't quite know why. I mean, I think it may be
Yeah.
something to do with PTSD, and with suppressed memory syndrome, and they don't even know why certain things upset them anymore, because um I don't know. Okay, I mean, suppressed memory syndrome actually is something I'm trying to make something of. So basically, supposing something terrible happened to you in your childhood, something
Mhm.
like that, and you suppress it, and you don't think of it, but maybe it's associated with, just randomly, I'm going to say, uh, tennis shoes. So
Yeah.
you link some terrible memory of yours to tennis shoes,
Yeah.
and because you suppress the actual thing that made you upset, but you remember the tennis shoes, you keep being triggered by seeing tennis shoes, something like that. And because the whole point of therapy is to say, look, just try and remember what it is, and it's not so bad, even if it's really the worst thing. It's like, you know don't worry about it, and you just go back and find out what it is, and we'll talk through it, and there's no need to be afraid of tennis shoes anymore, you
Got it.
know and I think, well, there's a lot of it about, there's a lot of stuff that people don't really understand. Okay, we could say their own history, but I'm saying their own national history. They don't understand because they never learnt it properly, and maybe their government never told them properly. Because you can imagine if you were Japan or Germany, it's like, what kind of history are you going to tell your people, right?
Yeah, it'd be
Because
interesting. I never think of that, how they treat the First and Second World War in Germany in the schools these days.
yeah, I mean, how do you explain it to your people? Like, are we the bad guys or what? And then people get. I mean, the Japanese, apparently, they're kind of resisting, thinking, well, we're not really the bad guys. They nuked us twice. Why are we the bad guys? What? Why are we not allowed to acquire empire, and they are allowed to
Mhm.
acquire empire? What's going on? But we have to submit to them because the U.S. naval base in Okinawa, and all these things that I don't think Europeans actually acknowledge. It's like Europe is an occupied country. You
Mhm.
know, you think of all the military bases in Germany, and I forget the places now, and
Cyprus, everywhere.
everywhere. And the thing is, like, Trident. I mean, it was only a few years ago that I discovered that this country had to pay for Trident and didn't, and we don't even have a code, so we can't even start our own nuclear war without
Mhm.
asking the Americans first. And
Claire, sorry to just interrupt you, but there's a person in the chat called Legatus, and he said, "Can I ask you something, Claire?" And I have said, "Yes, ask away." So, can I read the question out?
yeah, can secular
Can
Quranism accommodate Christians, um, or are, or are they completely out of the picture because of what Claire perceives as idolatry? Oh
can I answer
no.
it?
Oh, you can. Okay, okay.
I can
You
try and answer it, then Claire will answer it properly.
Yes,
But
yes, yes. I'm so
I,
glad you're going to give it a go because I'm
I'll
so
give it a
boring.
go. The answer is yes, because secular Quranism is not a. Um, it follows. I can't remember the page number or the something in the
Chapter
Quran.
2, verse 256, which supports the First Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Is
So
that the one?
basically, and it's yeah. So it's not it's not a religious. Hence the word secular. And the main purpose of it is to um, enhance or embody a set of rules based on the Quran. So you can be. It doesn't matter what you are or what you are not, or um, it's that's a simple answer, I think, Claire. Yeah,
Yes, 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 and you're correct, and I'm so happy that
yeah.
you yeah. Um, So that's it. I mean, it's like the First Amendment. If you adopt secular coronism, you adopt the First Amendment, and I'm basically telling the Americans that it's really your thing. I mean, it's like you were the one who basically put the knife into Christianity. Because if you can imagine the Americans when they first got the First Amendment in, and it's like, oh wow, we don't have to pretend we believe in the religion of the king, because we've told the king to go jump in the lake, and we don't have to pretend to be Christian anymore. And it was such a revolutionary idea, that very soon after the Americans had their own revolution, the French had their revolution.
But when you look back on, I know that if Christians not if they followed the teachings, there wouldn't have been the wars that we've had. There wouldn't have been the terrorizing of other countries. The America involved in over 60 war. So it isn't followed. It isn't. It's a flag waving thing.
Well, not necessarily, because yes, Christians caused themselves a lot of pain, and others too, when they went around conquering the world. But I mean, if you think of um, this idea that if we live in the best of all possible worlds, because God created the universe and created us, and He, obviously everything that happens is meant to happen, and He knows what it's all supposed to mean, then you can make sense of it. So I think the most popular question for Christians to think is like, obviously they think, oh, we have the best religion because we conquered the world, and now it's over, and nothing can be as good as Christianity because we're the best and we've got 3 global empires. And I'm saying, actually, it doesn't necessarily mean that every other religion is the worst, because it's like the Muslims just interpret their religion in such a retarded way that you think that they'd have realized by now that they obviously did something wrong, and you can actually prove that they did all these things in the wrong way, because they ignored this or that verse, and and they basically cherry picked a lot of things, like obviously they don't believe in freedom of belief because they don't have the equivalent of the First Amendment. And so there's actually a lot of stuff that they didn't follow, and that and that's why they crashed and burned. And it's only if you read the book that exactly what they didn't do, and that and they have no answer to it. I mean, they actually have a verse saying that they're supposed to admonish Christians for claiming that God has begotten a son. But and I've asked so many of these Islamic scholars and historians, like, oh, so when did your last caliph say anything to the Pope or the Bishop of Canterbury, about claiming that Christians claiming that God has begotten a son, and they can't tell me. They can't tell me. So it's like 1400 years of history, of Islamic history, and they never did it. They not even once, or maybe I haven't found the right one yet who can tell me. But basically, you can say, oh, so Muslims really suffered under the Crusades, because I mean the whole idea is that these Muslims are supposed to proselytize and tell everybody how wonderful Islam is, and actually they didn't do that. And because they didn't do that to the Europeans, who had a terrible religion because they were, burning each other at the stake at the drop of a hat, but obviously they didn't care about these Europeans, and they didn't proselytize. And when the Europeans got powerful enough, they decided to wage the Crusades against the Muslims, and the Muslims suffered terribly because apparently the Crusaders, waded knee deep in blood and gore when they went there. So, I mean, it's not something that it can deny. It's like, okay, well, they didn't, do that, obey that verse. And then when you ask them, it's like they've never heard of it. They don't know, what am I going on about? And, this is something I've noticed with them, just because I read the book and they don't really bother.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they're not going to want to be doing that because it's going to bring more more hatred back on them, isn't it? By asking stuff like that.
Well, I mean, that is a thing. It's like, oh, but if we told these Christians they'd only bash us on the head or something. But the logic of it is that if you look at what the Jews are supposed to do, it's like there's they have to avoid idolatry and get triggered by idolatry, and they were, and now they've forgotten all about it. So you could say that God is punishing them for not doing what they were chosen by God to do, which is to, teach and know idols and get triggered by idolatry and, make all these Christians hate them. But, but they're supposed to believe, right, that even if they are martyred, and they, die horribly, tortured by Christians, burned at the stake or whatever, God is supposed to reward them, right? I mean, that's the story. And obviously, they didn't do it because they didn't quite believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can say that to the Christians. It's like, oh, but Christians, you know about the 10 Commandments. What are they? Don't they mention idolatry and blasphemy? And why was Jesus executed? Wasn't it for blasphemy? Oh, and you've been worshiping him for nearly 2,000 years. What's that all about then? And they have no answer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out in the wash, I think, because the Jews haven't been doing their job, and then I suppose they're going to say, oh, but the Christians were so mean to us, we didn't dare, and it's like, okay, but after the First Amendment was passed in America. If you were a Jew living in America, you needn't be afraid of Christians, but you're still, you still didn't tell them, and now you've forgotten that you were supposed to ever do this sort of thing. And as for Christians, it's like they don't really care about idolatry. They can't get their heads around it. But I'm just saying, if you really believe in it, you should be upset. It's like, oh, we've been guilty of idolatry. And actually, idolatry is a mortal sin. I mean, according to the Catholics, but I suppose the Catholics just meant, you're just not supposed to bow before other idols that are not Jesus and Mary, but you're supposed to bow before the idol of Jesus and Mary.
Mm. If I can just say in the chat to Legatus, yeah, Bush with the Iraq war, he was waving the Christian flag with that, which is completely contrary Bush's actions to what he should have been doing if he was. So, yeah. Hi, Stephen.
Well, I mean, people use religion to back them up. Because
that's what I'm saying. It's not. There's one of the commandments of Noahide laws. It's about using God's name in vain.
Well, okay. I mean, that's blasphemy, right? So,
yeah, but it's using God to boost the self. So you're not living through. You're not following the principles. You're actually God told me to rob the house, or God told me to do this, or it's you're using the religion to justify or benefit.
I don't think that's quite the definition of blasphemy. Blasphemy
No,
is
it's not. No, blasphemy is like I think
it's saying things that arguably would upset God if he exists, right? I think that is basically it. It's like idolatry. Obviously, if God exists, he doesn't want you to be worshipping idols, because it's like, you should be thanking him for all the stuff, and it's not for some thing that is obviously not him. I mean, assuming the whole story is true, and I guess blasphemy is anything that would upset God, apart from bowing before idols. So
Yeah,
anything said
or
or done.
denounce. Who was the guy? Was it Paul of Tarsus or Saul or of Tarsus who later became Paul?
Yes.
He worked for the opposition, and he was going around denouncing God and Jesus or whatever the whole thing.
He was kind of persecuting the Christians, wasn't he? That was his job, and then he had this Damascene conversion, right? On the way to Damascus, he saw a vision of Jesus, and then he
that could
became
be
Christian.
you, Claire, because you followed him. I mean, that's what you've been doing for years, haven't you? Cursing Christianity. You might get a revelation. I think he was he bumped into Jesus. He was ill, wasn't he, on the road or something?
But Jesus had already died, so he saw a vision of Jesus. But I mean, obviously he couldn't have actually met Jesus because by the time Paul was doing his thing, Jesus had already died. So that's a story anyway. That Paul the Jew was. I mean, I guess if you're Jewish, you'll say he's been going around making all these people, these Gentiles, practice idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, this is part of my theory. I'm just saying, look, everything's going wrong because you no longer believe in Christianity, and you allowed it to be replaced by liberalism, and liberalism is now, failing. So, this is a problem. It's not like, Christianity, we've never tried anything else.
You kind of, well, it's very difficult to box it up. It's like trying to box something like tiredness up or jealousy. Like liberalism is, well, try defining it. If someone said to you, if a liberal said to you, what do you mean by liberalism? What would you say?
Well, it comes from the ideas of the French Revolution, and what the French Revolution said. I mean, they have the slogan, right? It's liberty, equality, and fraternity, and so liberalism dates back to the French Revolution, and you can say, oh, but the French Revolution was a consequence of the American Revolution, and if you know this thing about the Statue of Liberty, that there's one in France as well, but a smaller one, which is a replica of the one, of the big one in New York. So it's all linked, because I mean, if you look at the history, it's sort of like, the French, they hated the British, they sponsored the American Revolutionary Wars because, it's kind of like what that America is doing to Russia. They're sponsoring a war in Ukraine, right, to upset the Russians, and basically the French at the time were sponsoring a revolutionary war in America to upset the British, and then because they spent so much money on it, they realized, ooh, we have no money now. And then the king said, oh, Catholic Church, you're going to pay a bit of tax, to help me out. And the Catholic Church said no. And then, the king went to the barons, and the barons were the army and the muscle. And they said, no, we're not paying anything. And so the third estate, which is the middle classes and the working classes, ended up paying all the taxes that the first and second estate. The first estate is a Catholic Church. The second estate is the barons, and so all the burden of taxation fell on the third estate, and that was why they rebelled, and that was the reason for the French Revolution. So it's quite ironic and fascinating, really.
Yeah, but I mean, we've argued for a while about religion, but religion is surely on the way out of society, isn't it?
I don't think so, because I'm saying you can have secular political ideologies, and people believe in it in the same with the same fanaticism
Mhm.
as if it were religion. So, communists, you think they're pretty fanatical. Nazis can be pretty fanatical. Fascists, um, woke people can be pretty fanatical too. So, it's not just, people who believe in God. People can have their own idea about something and, be extremist about it. It's not just religious people.
No, but I said that we once did a stream ages ago, and I said that I think I was using a boxer or a fighter of sort and explaining to them how it becomes a religion for them, the way they live and train. And you were saying it's not a religion because it doesn't involve. I can't remember what the criteria was, but
Um, Okay,
definitely
I mean, I know. Okay, you make me think of football because like people say, "Oh, football is a religion," right? You've heard it,
the
haven't you?
fans, a lot of the fans, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and having been to a football match, I can sort of see what they mean. It's like, oh, our consciousness, it merges into the crowd, and when we think we've scored a goal, we stand up and roar, and when,
Mhm.
when we think the other, we groan, and you can hear the groan. So I remember when the World Cup was being played in South Africa, and they were being really annoying with their vuvuzelas. Do you remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And the people complaining, it's like, oh, but you can't hear the crowd. You can't hear how the crowd actually responds like one monster. That they can all sort of go, oh, you
Hmm.
know, which when they thought, you know, I don't know, but anyway, so I think this is what a lot of people enjoy. I mean, they go to a music concert, right, and they do the Mexican wave, and I've been part of that thing. You sit there, you see the wave coming down around the stadium, and you think, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, and then it comes down and you do it, right? You just
Is it
can't,
is it like
can't help yourself.
is it like clapping the NHS at 8 o'clock?
No, well, I didn't do it, but I bloody heard my neighbor do it.
Oh God,
Um,
it's hot.
yeah, because it's like, what are you doing?
I
Um,
um
I mean, but
I
I,
was I was
I
in
think they
I
were
was in the
actually
front.
indoors, but just next door. So
Yeah,
I guess you can get people to do pretty much anything if they believe in it.
yeah,
Uh, and we are being manipulated the whole time, and it's like basically we believe what we want to believe. And, if somebody can work out what certain people might want to believe, then yeah, I mean, they've got us sussed. I mean, that's how con men work, right? They think, oh, this person, or what are they most likely to want? Do they want love? Do they want money? Do they want health? And then, they have a kind of formula, even instructions like if they are male in certain age, if they are female in a certain age, you do this and you do that and
mhm,
whatever. um so maybe a lot of us are pretty transparent, which is why you get all these scam artists working on us. And oh yeah, and apparently Nigerians are the most successful con people.
yeah, but
And the reason is, I'll tell you the reason. The reason is everybody thinks they're so smart, and they think black people are stupid, right? So when, and when the black person pretends to be stupid and asking for your help, you think, yeah,
yeah, but
maybe I'll.
if you have 10 million attempts and you get 15,000, um, as opposed to another group of people maybe just trying 500,000 attempts, I would have thought that the way that whenever you get emails and letters, a lot of it is Nigeria, isn't it?
Yeah, but actually they're really smart. I mean, a lot of these Africans are not stupid people. They're actually quite well educated. and but it's a kind of sort of racial thing as well.
Mhm.
And the other, okay, if you don't want to be, if you don't want to be racist about it, it would be, some helpless and stupid woman, right?
Mhm.
Asking for your help. I mean, that seems to be irresistible to a lot of men. It's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I'll take advantage of her before she takes advantage of me. That
Well,
kind
you
of.
never know. You never know, do you? I mean, that's why you stop and let them cross the road at zebra crossings, and there might be one day when she gets halfway across the crossing and looks in your car window and she says, "Wow, I've been waiting for you all my life." So that's why men tend to stop for better looking women. It's not to look at them; it's just in case they click. And if you don't stop, you'll never get the opportunity.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna give her your card from your van or something?
But it's like a dog going past the house, and if there's a smell of meat or a bone or whatever, the dog will almost always stop, just in case he gets lucky. And the
Right.
fact,
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. I think humans might. Oh, this smells like something I'd
yeah, but
like to eat. What are they cooking?
the fact that the last 11,000 times have failed, nothing's happened, doesn't mean doesn't give you any
We
less.
just stop anyway. Yes.
Doesn't
Yes.
give you any less. So are we? Are you going to Speaker's Corner tomorrow?
I think so. Yes.
It's going to be very warm, isn't it?
I'll remember to wear a hat. Well, I did last time anyway.
The other one, yeah, that looked good. That one. Did you see the interview that he put up today?
I saw it, but I've forgotten the title, and I was thinking, oh, it was about trans people,
Yeah,
right?
he's interviewing.
Somebody
It's
called
interesting.
Dust, and I had a bit of a clash with him
Well,
at
I'll
the
tell you
press.
what's really funny. I was going to comment on it. About halfway into the stream, a really good-looking blonde woman. It's Pret, isn't it? Hyde Park.
Yes.
Yeah, a good-looking blonde woman starts loitering by the walks past by the not the bar. What do they call it? The counter. And his eyes, he's following her. He's gawking at her.
Okay.
The Muslims not. The gay tranny is.
Right.
Have a look. You'll see it. There's a
Okay.
blonde,
Well, I'll look forward to that then.
and then yeah. So you'll be getting to know quite a. So sorry, it's just a chest infection. You'll be getting to know quite a few people there.
Well, they kind of know me, I mean, yeah, I think they do, and I mean, last week, last Sunday, I basically was holding my book, and then I was, talking to the Muslims, and they had their, Quran stall, and I stood behind it, and I was talking to them, and I was holding up my book, and people came to take pictures, and you know. So I mean, it was quite good humored, So I guess that's all right.
Is there still police there?
Okay, I didn't see any police, but I
Okay.
have seen them when they just sort of appeared on, en masse. When that cartoon person was there. Because I mean, the Christians, they sort of turn up, and oh yeah, yeah, and then Hatun and her gang kind of looked at me in a
Mm.
hostile way, and I don't know, it's quite good really, um, um, but okay, I feel I have to say things about Christianity because it's like. If it's food, it's not fit for human consumption. If it's a parachute, it's not going to open. And, it's like you can't use it anymore. And you've just got to give up on the idea of using it. And the evidence is everywhere around you. And you're just being sentimental about it. It's like, oh, but I don't know, stained glass windows and Christmas and Easter and all that. And I'm saying religion is not just all these little festivals. It's really
Yeah, but
actually about obeying the rules.
No, but I've always said that with hence not being a churchgoer, even though I've been recently. But that's more of a social thing. But it is it's terrible. It really is horrible. I'm not going to go. I certainly won't be going tomorrow.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's depressing, isn't it? I mean, I've been to, these churches, and, everybody's really old, right? And
Mm,
and you think, oh, how sad, but they don't know where obviously they're not going to go to a synagogue or a mosque because they've been to this old church for so many years of their life. And the worst thing that could happen is for the church to close down. And these days they are closed down, and then they do this sort of mega church thing. And for the oldies, they have nowhere to go. Their church gets closed down, and they say, oh, if you want to go to church, you have to go to the really big one, the mega church. And the service is different, the people are different, everything is different. And
yeah,
you
they
know
won't like that. It's more of a it's like a youth club for old people.
yeah, I mean, I'm afraid, for the community center, for a lot of white people who don't go to church, is their Weatherspoons, right?
Yeah,
It's being run like a charity now.
yeah. He was on on the news yesterday, and he was saying that the price of beer is going to go up again, and they're just not going to be able to do it. Um, I think £7 a pint. Some pubs in London are now averaging or something.
Yeah, it's
Um,
ridiculous.
and he said within a year you're looking at 10. For it to continue. So, I mean, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Well, yes, and the ruling classes don't care about these things because actually, Britain should be a nation of shopkeepers, full of independent businesses, not full of cartels and monopolies who, have the power to do all these terrible things to people, if they don't toe the line, with politics. And, okay, so I'm saying if you believed in any of your religion, you'd already have fought back against all of this. But
Well,
you don't. That's why you don't fight. I mean, it's not just going to church and meeting a bunch of old people. You've somehow got to organize yourselves to challenge it and reject the message. But the
no, but
church just
you're
just
looking,
just goes along with it, doesn't it?
you're looking
The
at
church
starting,
just goes along.
you're looking at starting something new because the church I've been going to recently, the average age is probably, like I'm the youngest there. The average age is probably getting on 80, 75.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like you okay. So the average age in the West is 40, and you think 40, that's quite old, but it's not that old. But you think
No,
if it keeps going up, if you think if the average age of your country is 80, then they can do what they like to us, can't they? Because 80-year-old people are not gonna do anything,
yeah.
and that's why you need young people who are not going to put up with crap. And when you think of all the countries that have had revolutions, I'm sure when they did have a revolution, the average age of the people were in their 20s or something.
I heard on, I think it was Thursday, with the inflation results news coming out, um, Sunak had gone to the banks and asked them what they could do for the public,
Mhm.
whereas the government should be telling the banks, or the government should be the bank. So you've got the prime minister going to the banks asking them if they could help the public.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the banks have their own problems as well. I mean, the banks are doing sort of weird things. I mean, if they're asked to raise the interest rate, then a lot of businesses are going to suffer, and okay, the whole thing is unsustainable, and then we're sending all these stupid weapons to Ukraine. Nothing
Mhm.
they do makes sense. I mean, it's all of it costs money, right? They're not cheap, these fighter jets and whatever.
No, absolutely. It costs. Well, we know it's billions, isn't it? And yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
not
not like
good.
it's going to, help the long-term national interest, and that I think is why, even the Americans are going crazy, and what happens when people go crazy is they go on killing sprees, which they do in
Mhm.
America, and more notice. Oh yeah, apparently they've had 300, you know, shooting sprees so far this year. So
In
nobody,
America.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So nobody's even batting an eyelid now because, well, it's nothing to write home about now.
It's frustration. I don't think it's mental illness. I think it's frustration. I think a lot of young men, older men, that just don't want to be alive, and they hate it, and they're lashing out. I don't think it's they'll call it mental illness, but I think a lot of it is just completely lost, isolated, separated, and frustrated.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing, mental illness, it's like, I mean, depression is mental illness, right?
Um,
So even feeling bad about something is mental
I
illness. I
disagree.
used to think,
I think depression. There's another question for you in the chat. Do you think that UAE is the closest to secular Quranism? They are mainly Islamic, yet tolerant towards other religions and still keep the patriarchy and their traditions. Probably.
hmm, yeah, I mean, I haven't really looked at UAE, but I know, it's like they're quite liberal. Lots of Westerners go and live there, you know,
Mm.
and I guess they're quite happy there. But that there's, oh, but they're quite strict, right? No kissing in public, and
No,
no
my
having
friend.
sex on the beach,
Do
and
you remember my friend Lincoln? You met him once, the Canadian guy.
oh yes,
He he goes well. He hasn't been for years, but he was over there working, and you cannot get into debt, even £50 and stuff. It's really, really, really strict. So to leave the country and to get back in, you can't even owe like £10 to a bank or anything like that. Um, and from what I gather with him, yeah, it's really strict.
hmm,
So I I don't think depression is, well. Apparently these days there's 1,000,001 types of depression, but like for me, and obviously I can only speak for myself. Like depression is not a bad thing. You may feel low and unmotivated, but it's because you're not happy. There's something wrong. Depression for me means that I'm doing something that I shouldn't, or I'm not doing something that I should. It always falls into that category, and the longer I continue without addressing it, the longer it takes to come out of it, and it can go on for ages. And um, I think depression is the human way of. It's like a dog. If you see a dog and the dog's not happy, there's a reason that it might be in pain or it's missing its master or something. So the depression, in that sense, can be a warning signal, an alarm. But for some people, like a mental illness is something completely crazy. I mean, they can psychopaths and murderers and stuff. But I think the word depression now, oh God, it covers so much. Like, I think healthy people wake up feeling shit. I think successful people, when they've won something, like have massive lows. Sportsmen who waited for years to win the championship, the day after, it's just a feeling of absolute like hollowness and emptiness, you know. So with depression, I don't know. I think there are genuine cases of it, but I think there's massive people who are not. A lot of overweight people get depressed and they get put on pills, but the solution is to lose weight. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I used to suffer from depression actually when I was younger. I don't know why I got over it. It's just like, maybe I'm more to be depressed about than when I
I
was
think
younger.
you did say it was on a stream you said it. I think you did say to me it was on our first or second stream, and I thought it was I was encouraged by your honesty. You said that you began to realize that you probably weren't as good at certain things as what you thought you were or wanted to be. So I think that's a completely healthy state of mind, and that you could be low for a while, years. That you might want to be an athlete or a singer or a magician or a whatever, and then suddenly you realize when the rubber hits the road or whatever the term is that it's maybe not your best thing. It might not work out, and so how is it not? It would be abnormal if you were happy with that. Of course, you're going to be depressed.
Well, I think maybe it's more to do with when you're a child, people say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And you say, "I don't know, doctor, lawyer, astronaut, great
Oh God!
explorer," and then you realise, it's hey, you can't do it.
Hey, I went into the petrol station late last night, and there's two women behind the counter. No, and obviously two mothers, and one of them said to the other one, "He still doesn't know what he wants to do." And I said straight away, I said, we never do, we never will. And the woman laughed and she said, he's right. She said, I'm like 61 and I'm still waiting to find out who I am and what I want to do and things like that. And
Well,
I
we know
do,
what we want to do. It's like we don't know whether we should be doing it. It's like, well, if I want to, do this thing that I really love doing, but maybe I'm crap at it. And I suppose I think this is a problem of having too many choices. It's sort of like you're doing a multiple choice test and you've got 26 options instead of the usual four. So by the time you finish it, you think, I'm sure I failed it because with all these choices, I must have chosen the wrong thing. And I think maybe that is what causing us to be depressed because we're sure now that we did the wrong thing. You
yeah. I
know.
mean, if you looked online and you typed what is a healthy diet, you're going to get millions and millions of different suggestions um, and things like that. But if
But I think it's also to do with relationships. It's like, well, who was the one who got away? It's like, oh, but I've shagged thousands of people, so I don't know. You know,
mm,
uh,
I've always found it's when you get in the bloody relationship. I mean, that's what I've experienced. Where it's not so much the thrill of the chase, but it's just you end up with the same person. They're just in a different body as the last one and the different mind. But I
yeah.
function much better without when I'm on my own. Um, I'm spontaneous. I like to, and I can be into something for a month and just not into it. And if you've dragged a person along that path with you, or you're doing stuff together, then suddenly you're just like, I've got no interest in that anymore. That never goes down very well. Um,
Hmm.
you know, and I think as well that other times I'm okay at listening and I'm okay at understanding stuff, but then eventually I burn out. It's like I've got 1,000 minutes for you. You can have them in the first week, or you can have 5 minutes a
But
week.
you want to spread it out a bit.
Yeah, yeah. But then eventually, it's just you look at them and the mouths going up and down, but you don't hear anything coming out their mouth. Yeah.
Hmm. But yeah, I think it's probably most people realize that that maybe their best relationship was sort of maybe 10 lovers ago or something, and I think maybe that's what depressing them, more
Well,
than, oh, I should have bought this car instead of that car.
yeah. I was going through. I got not a new Mac, but I got a new hard drive where you save it up to every hour. Anything I do, it gets saved on an external hard drive. So I was looking through all my photos and videos over the years, and in it there was quite a few of the women that I've had relations with.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I thought, bloody hell, I did pretty well. Like, I was quite surprised. And I thought, what's happened?
Yeah,
I mean,
how many of them would speak to you again?
oh God, no! Oh, I tell you, man. I emailed one of them because she blocked me, but
You know that because she blocked me.
yeah. I said, how was it? I said, I could send you it actually. I said, hi. I just saw that. I was cleaning out my email tray and I just saw this. I'm not in London. I said, I'm not in London now. And that was to make her think, oh, I'll speak to him then because he won't be visiting me. I said, I'm not in London now, but just I hope you're keeping out of trouble or something like that. And then I didn't get a reply, probably because she doesn't want to send it or she hasn't. I'm probably in the spam tray, but I think there was they were all crazy though. That's the thing. They were all like neurotic, and I guess that says something about me. But none of them were normal. They were all highly emotional and mad, sex addicts and ex-druggies and exercise or like obsessive people, and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The sort of people I feel at home around.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this week, I was okay. I'm just getting a bit annoyed with my middle class friends. I just feel that we're working towards something and it's not too good, and it's like they still can't talk about it. They still can't talk about anything, and 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 I also happen to hear, Paul Vanderkay, occasionally gives people the odd tip about how to deal with, difficult people. Oh, on Twitter, he pays to be verified. You have to engage with them, and you have to, maybe just do 2 or 3 exchanges, and then you let them have the whole, the last word. Yeah. And I thought that was what this guy was doing to me. And I was just fed up. So basically, he was saying, I don't know what you meant about the Spinoza thing. I sent him that video that Colin took. Okay, maybe it's a bit of an obscure subject, and then he said, your femininity is being crushed. With your politics, and then I guess I just couldn't resist saying something about his masculinity having been crushed as well, and so I guess that was the end of it. But yeah, I mean, in a way, I understand. There's some people who won't talk about politics and say, "What's the point of talking about politics? We're just going to disagree, and then we're going to get upset with each other, and the world will not be in a better place anyway." So what is the point, And I guess I have a point. But I guess if you went to a good university and you're a lawyer, I guess I can't overlook it. But if you're a housewife, maybe I can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But saying that, Claire, these days, I mean, I've got 2 friends, I mean, they've got what people would call good jobs. They've both got degrees, architects, and they're in debt every month. They weren't a year ago, but recently, obviously with interest rates and bills and stuff. So they've done all the right things.
Yeah, they thought they did all the right things, and it's not turning up for them. I mean, one of the people I met in Speaker's Corner was like, she's sort of West country gentry and, posh and speaks French and, I think she had a title and whatever. And it's not going well for her. So, these people, well, in a way,
it don't pay the bills. It's as simple as that, isn't
yeah,
it?
it doesn't pay the bills, and it's worse for these people because they've been brought up to expect a certain standard, and then they suddenly can't do it anymore. And I was thinking, people laugh at Harry, but I think it's like, what is he supposed to do? He's never done a day's work in his life.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can't take a job. I mean, he can't, can he? Because he'll get sacked.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
what job could he do? So he's got to do all these sort of ghostwriting and revealing confidences and selling his story like some cheap whore. And it's like, that's what he's reduced to doing. What can he do?
Yeah, I think,
babysit, work on a building site. He can't do any of those things.
But I think even before
trade.
Before he gets out of bed, he'll have spent £20,000 on security and mortgage.
Exactly.
Whatever. It'll cost them millions just to exist without.
And the children, what kind of schools can they go to? I mean, the worst is that you send them to a posh school, and then you can't afford to pay the fees anymore, and you have to send them to the local comp where they get bullied for their accents, right? That's the worst thing you could do to your kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never envy rich people. It's like they've got their rich people problems, and maybe the So I suppose I'm grateful that I'm not seething with anger at all these people who've gone on their nice holidays and posted on Facebook and talk about it. It's like, it's cool. I don't have to go to wherever you've just been.
None of my friends are going on holidays these days. That's one thing, that they go up to the lakes, which is about 100 miles away. Quite dull, to be honest. I was supposed to be there today. I was supposed to be doing the race, the swim. They do stuff like that, go camping at the lakes, and they don't do holidays.
Well, it's very pretty there. I mean, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, I mean, maybe they're used to going to Italy or whatever, and now they can't afford it, right? I mean,
yeah, there's a hotel at Windermere, and I was up there 3 weeks ago just to do some swim training for the race today, which was Coniston, and
Coniston water.
Yeah, that's where I was supposed to be doing the race today.
Uh-huh.
With my illness, I had to get a letter from the doctors, which cost £35, and then jump through hoops to get you to be able to not to do the race and get your money back. But but there was a nice hotel by Windermere, and I checked it out, and it was £1,100 a night.
Crikey!
I know. But the campsite, I mean, everything is so expensive up there. It's and after a while,
a kebab, which I had, is £8, £8.40, a little one. That's how much it is.
But it's like people.
It's £3.20.
It's like people who live by the sea up here, and after a while, the sea doesn't change. After a while, you get used to it, and you say, "Oh, the Lake District, it's pretty or it's nice," but after 15 minutes, you're not like get used to it, and it becomes normal. Everything becomes normal.
Well, I mean, they say that if you live beside the seaside, you never need to go on holiday because you're supposed to feel that every day is a holiday because of the seaside.
But you don't. You don't. I mean, the where I am, the North Sea, it's cold.
Yeah.
The most you can stay in for is probably 3 hours.
3 hours. Cracking.
Yeah, like so you can't. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to train for long swims, you got to go up the lakes.
Which is
So,
really cold already.
no, the lakes is warmer than the sea.
Uh-huh.
The lakes
But it's
are
still cold. I mean, like, it's still
yeah, but
cold, isn't it?
no, but the North Sea is
It,
horrible.
yes, I
You
can imagine.
know, it's. But I did the Scottish Ice Championships this year in February. I went up there and competed. I came last.
Were you expecting to?
Yeah.
Mm.
The race started, and the guy beside me, he was a Commonwealth champion.
Oh, right, okay, yes.
And I talked to him afterwards, but like, there's so much skill involved. You're in a lake, but you're in 20. It's a 25-meter pool. They make a swimming pool in the middle of the lake, and
Uh-huh,
it's freezing. It's not ice, obviously, but it's just a bit warmer than ice water.
uh-huh.
So you get in, you walk to your start. I'll send you some pictures. You walk to the starting block, and then you get in, and within 3 seconds you're swimming.
Right, so you wear a diving suit, don't you?
No, you wear a big coat as you walk to the pool, like, and then you take the coat off and get in, and then the whistle goes and you're swimming.
But you wear what they call it?
No,
The
not a
diving suit.
wetsuit. No, you just wear your trunks.
Oh,
It's
but
just it's trunks and goggles.
oh, right. Because I thought you might be wearing what's the thing called? I can't remember.
Wetsuit.
Wetsuit. That's right. But
No.
you don't own one.
Well, I've got one, but I can't get in it for some reason.
Oh,
It must have shrunk.
okay, okay.
Fucking morons. But I got in, and before I knew, I mean, I've been I trained for it in the North Sea. Me and my friend, and and he just beat me by a few seconds, 30 seconds or something. But and it was a 450-meter, which is what, third of a mile. So you're in for about 15 minutes. But yeah, I've never like swam or raced against anybody as good. And when he'd finished, he'd done his 18 lengths, and I was on my 8th. So yeah, but I chatted to him afterwards. It was funny. So, but it was good. You know, you train for it, you pay your money, you go up, you get in the lake for 15 minutes. It's 250 miles away from here. It's right in the Highlands, and then you drive up for 5 hours, swim for 15 minutes, and drive home for 5 hours. You know, in ice water. So I don't think I'll be doing it again.
Yeah. We were supposed to be discussing God. Did we kind of resolve the issue or not? Because
Well, I think it started out where I was just questioning the whole. I've never had that before. I really, just the last day or 2 days, I need to get busy with stuff. Like I need to get. We chatted the other day. I've made a few changes and need to put some action in. I need to. I guess grow up in certain areas, get some distance, become real and stuff, and not sit around reading about God and think. It doesn't really get a lot done, and I'm really questioning how. Maybe it's time for me to move on from it.
well, okay, maybe you'll find this helpful, maybe not. But this is okay. So this is Judaism, and they have this concept of knowing that God exists and believing that He will act for the best reasons. So knowing is a pretty tall order, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know how they do it, but I mean, obviously they need to, or because if they didn't know it, no, if they didn't feel such certainty, then they wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, because they have the most, restrictive and demanding religion of all the religions that you can think of in the world. So, and I suppose that's why they say, oh, you have to know that God exists, and you also have to believe that He will act for the best possible reasons. And I guess a lot of people find the whole concept difficult,
Hmm.
but which is why they can't stick to their guns because, you know, obviously when we're happy, then it's easy to believe, and but when we're disappointed, and then it's also
Yeah, I
easy
mean,
to believe.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't feel disappointed, but a lot of little things like just. I know it sounds silly, but reading that book and having the wrong month, and it doesn't going to the churches and seeing what goes on there, and um, um, I don't know. I don't know. I normally, I mean, I've said to you for ages. Sometimes I'm really strong on it. Sometimes I'm not. But I've never had this before, where like I feel almost like God's telling me to fuck off, to like go off on your own, like into the desert for 40 days, maybe, or something.
Well, you certainly don't need to go to any place of worship to commune with God if you have a um, relationship with God. I mean, this is another buzzword, isn't it? I mean, because
Oh God,
this is
yeah.
what Jews say. Yes, we have to pray the prayers that we know the by heart the words of, but you also have to do the dialogue with God thing,
Mhm.
which I don't know if you do or not. Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I'm saying it's a kind of bargaining thing because I mean, let's face it. I mean, people don't really want to talk to God unless they want something.
Yeah.
And the story is that well God doesn't mind because He's omnipotent, so He doesn't mind. And it's better that you acknowledge His existence by asking stuff from Him than not acknowledge Him at all. So He doesn't mind apparently. So that's the story that the rabbi say. So I'm guessing that when people want stuff from God, they'll be put into a kind of mindset into thinking, well, I want this thing, and you probably won't give it to me because I've been a naughty boy, but I'll be good.
Yeah.
You see, and even as you say that, it's like, oh, I really want this thing, I haven't got it yet, and oh, but I'll start being good, today, and then you're, oh, I've been good for 2 days. Are you gonna give it to me? And this is the kind of relationship that I guess people are supposed to cultivate with God because you're already kind of bargaining. You want this thing, so you focus your mind on it, and then you think, well, what do I have to do for God to give me the thing? Obviously I mustn't go around murdering, stealing, cheating, lying, so I must be good, so I'll be good in order to and maybe thinking like that just makes us happier and be better people. Do you think?
Well, uh, according to the stuff that I've listened, follow, and read, it's not a. It doesn't work saying to God, "I'll, if I'm good, you'll give me that." You and I've been going for quite a few dog walks on a morning with one of the local um, priests, and he's a speaker on the circuit as well. And
Hmm.
we run our stuff through each other, and you might find this story quite interesting actually.
Hmm.
Um, there was a on Facebook one day there was like a slogan, and it said something about "Are you doing what God wants for you?" Something like that. Are you letting God in? Are you allowing God to give you what you want, or something? And I said to the And this guy's really good. He's really good. I said to him that the problem with me is that I know what God wants me to be doing, but I have real problem and resistance to do it. And
Hmm.
he got cross, like not at me, but he says, be really, really careful, assuming that you know what God wants for you. He said it brings up all kinds of problems later on
Like how?
because it's saying that you know God. It's saying that I know what God wants for me. It's like we don't.
Okay, but I mean, obviously, within the constraints of what we're allowed to do, we can make our own decisions. Like um, instead of being a carpenter, you become a
Yeah,
clockmaker or something. It's like, well,
yeah.
I'm sure God won't, be mad at you for choosing the wrong thing because
But
both are acceptable.
he's when people go, God wants me to be this. God told me to do God this. God told me to like you just be very careful, assuming that you. And there's another one where he had a ticket for the FA Cup final, which was on a Sunday in Wembley in London, and he'd put his name down to speak at this venue, and he may not get the chance ever again to um, see his team at the cup final. And a few people, including me, were saying to him, like, just go, you'll be able to go, um, and the church will survive, and everybody, But he didn't go, and he's thinking on it was that you can't you can't go against God when it suits you, then suddenly go to God when you want stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
So if he'd gone to he said it's not so much about whether I go to the football or not. It's more so afterwards. Um, I'll send you a picture of me and him on a dog walk on the.
What I mean, what he's feeling bad after going to the football. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you kind of you can't if you go to God and God says to you like go and speak in the church and help the old people, and if you say no, I'm not doing that, I'm going to football, the following week when you're praying, dear God, please, he says you can't do it in a good conscience. So it's like,
Right. Oh, okay. So he's suffering from guilt.
yeah, if he'd gone, so he didn't go, but he said he didn't go, but it's not to be pious and not to be um, um, look at me, I'm so spiritual. Yeah, I've just sent you a picture of me and him on a dog walk.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Quite a nice picture, isn't it?
Yes. Always sort of. The clouds are lovely in the background. The
Yeah,
light. His dog. Mm.
I've got a really picture here of me at my wedding.
Oh. Let's see.
Oh, I don't know. I've got a look on my face of fuck. I don't know what I'm. I don't know. Should I send you it? Do I trust you?
Well, I'm not going to be sending it around. Well, I won't do that, don't you?
Yeah.
Or you can delete it afterwards or something, or whatever. But it's not like I'm going to do this sort of thing.
Oh, go on. I'll risk it. Right. Look at my face. I've got to look like, what am I doing? You
Well,
ready?
actually, men are often terrified. You look a bit glum. It's like, oh, like you're about to go to the gallows or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's typical. I mean, men often look terrified, and the bride looks triumphant.
Oh God, she was ecstatic. She was for
Yeah,
some reason she
yeah.
was really yeah, happy. We speak occasionally,
Mhm.
but uh, yeah, that was one of them ones that probably shouldn't have happened. But there you go, eh?
I mean, is it somebody you think, oh damn, I should have married her instead, or do you know?
I just don't think I'm the
Okay,
marrying.
you're going to say you're not the marrying kind, but I think actually a lot of people, if they thought about it, then they think, well, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. No, no, you know, and uh, I think people should just understand that it's like it's not even about your happiness, right?
Mhm.
Well, all the religions in the world are there to tell us to marry and have children and stay together for the sake of the children, even though, we think we, probably married the wrong person, and, it's all very disappointing and whatever. But people stay because they think if we walk away from this marriage, we'll feel even worse because
Yeah.
then the children will be traumatized, and I'll be blamed for everything, blah, blah, blah. So I better stay, for fear of something worse. And it's like, yeah, but it's actually the right decision, isn't it? It's the right decision.
Well, you need to do this stuff to find out if it works. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You need to. It's called metaphysics. It's where if you're if you're learning to swim, you need to get in the water at some point, and you might you can't learn to swim just by reading books saying how to swim.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you found somebody who was pleased to marry you, and so you can't, and you had a daughter by her, so
Yeah,
unless you're one of the natalists who say, "Ooh, I wish I never had my children, and I'm going to tell them that." I mean, but some people do.
no, no, I've never felt that, but I um, I don't think I can be relied upon. I'm not the model of consistency. Um, but telling women that doesn't stop them. It makes them almost want you more because they think
Yeah.
they'll sort me out.
Yes. Yes. Well,
I'll fix him. But yeah. Well, what do you think of therapy? Do you think therapy is a good thing?
Well, actually, I'm thinking of what Rabbi Mizrahi said about therapy. He was saying, a lot of mental illnesses can be solved by believing in God and obeying Him, and I'm wondering if he might be right after all.
A lot of
It,
he says a lot of mental illnesses are caused by not believing in God and not obeying Him.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he's right to a lot of it.
yeah. I suppose he means not people start hearing voices and going mad, but they accept their lot in life with more grace, like so think, why did you give this thing to my sister but not me? She
Mm.
doesn't deserve it, and all that. But if you believe in God, it's like, well, God knows best, and I'll just have to accept whatever God gives me without complaining too much, and maybe that sort of mindset will make you a less unhappy, bitter person. Perhaps that's all he means.
I, th- I think I think what I'd say for Mizraki, I would say that humans need to follow certain rules in general, and if they don't, there's consequences. There's consequences for following rules and consequences for not following them, and we all will get the consequences. And the modern day liberal doesn't want the consequences, and they when they misbehave and they get the consequences, they misbehave even more, have a screaming fit. But you have to get up in the morning. You can't lie in bed and watch YouTube and expect to feel good. You can't eat rubbish food and expect to feel physically well. You know, there's so many little things that we took for granted when we were growing up that our parents wouldn't imagine. Like I never heard my parents swear. They never smoked.
Mm-hmm.
And like I wouldn't have dreamed of swearing. I mean, I have done since I've been older, but I don't like my friend's
Well,
mum.
your father certainly sounded saintly.
Oh yeah, no, he's a good man. He's
Mm-hmm.
better than me. He's a genuinely good man. He's one of them people I've constantly fought him in terms of morals and trying
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, and he's never ever lost in a way. He's always just stayed strong. You know, I've tried to probably break him a few times in a way, but
Well,
I
it
mean,
came through in the short exchange we had. Well,
yeah, yeah.
I don't think we actually spoke, but he kind of asked questions. And
Well,
I,
he said he was questioning the whole thing now with religion, and he spent he was playing the organ at church when he was 9 years old, and he kept the little chapel going on his own, and you know, and he questions the whole thing. He looks at the world and he sees what's going on, and he doesn't. In fact, he doesn't go to church now. I'll be honest.
well, I mean, I guess he found himself in church because he could play the organ, and people liked him playing the organ, and and he liked playing the organ for them, and they liked him playing the organ, and it just sort of, became the logical thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you want to play the organ and people, who are you going to play it for? But the congregation. And I'm sure he played it very well, and that's where you get your musicality from.
Oh yeah, definite influence. But I mean, I got scholarships for violins and stuff when I was 8, I think, 7, 8, 9 year old or something. So it's not just from listening to my dad play, but So, but Claire, I'm going to shoot off. It's just past 11 o'clock.
All right, all right. Well, I hope you feel better soon with your cough.
Oh, it's been a month, and I think I need to get healthy and get myself in better physical condition, i.e., lose a bit of weight. That doesn't help with the breathing. I've noticed that the last few months, doing a lot of the winter swimming, I was eating a lot, more than what I needed.
Well, the swimming makes you so hungry.
Honestly, man, Claire, in winter, I'd go down at 6 o'clock, black dark, you're in the sea, just for 10 minutes, and you get out, and honestly, you're hypothermic. Every other day, you're getting hypothermic, and your body uses 700 calories per hour when you get out, which is basically like running. If you run for an hour, it's about...
Oh, right. It was a good way of losing weight.
Well, no, because I would eat.
Okay, yeah.
So, and my friend's put on a lot of weight as well. Well, he's put on over a stone, and I've put on probably 3. So I need to get rid of that. So I'm doing good, though. I've been in a week, and I've lost 5, maybe 6 pounds this week already. And that's just from being sensible, But I need to continue on the better path.
Right. So what exercise do you take now that you don't
At the
swim?
minute, nothing. Well, I'm walking a mile a day at least. Because of my breathing, I can't afford to get out of breath. So I'm eating less, but I'm not eating any rubbish stuff. And then I'm walking half an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. And just from doing that, I've lost 5.5 pounds since Monday.
Very good.
Which you will on your first week, but I've got quite a bit to lose. But I'll continue it. And then get down to my fighting weight.
Yes.
But listen, have a good time tomorrow.
All right.
Speaker's Corners, and I look forward to hearing about your trip and your travels.
Okay. All right then. Sleep well and take care, Jay.
All right. Thanks to everybody in the chat, Art Bell and Legatus, and I think Stephen popped up at some point.
Yes.
Okay then. Bye all.
Right. Bye. Okay. I haven't been reading the chat. I'll have a look now. Legato says, another question I have is, does religious tolerance have an end? For I asked Javad this yesterday in the super chat, because there are people like Aaron Ra who encourage people to join these mock religions. Okay, let me try and make sense out of that. Is there a purpose to having religious tolerance? Well, yes, because if you're not religiously tolerant, then you'll be fighting people about their religion. And since we are a multiracial, multicultural society, it's not a good idea to be religiously intolerant. To mock traditional religious norms and protest the smallest religious overtones in state. I'm not sure what he's trying to say. Wagner, right now, the reason African Americans are so stupid is because they are Americans, not Africans. Do you think the UAE is closest to secular Quranism? They are mainly Islamic, yet tolerant towards other religions and still keep the patriarchy and their traditions. Yes, Chapter 2, verse 256, that says, there is no compulsion in belief. Truth stands clear from error. Supports the First Amendment. Art Bell says, Luke Ford is fake, lifting the couch up the stairs, screaming in pain as you sweat and hurt from the full lift. Okay, it's an in-joke. I don't really get it. I can change the title. What did we mostly discuss? We discussed... I suppose we did discuss religion, really. Discussing in God with A. All right then, thank you all. Goodbye, and speak to you before too long.